more analysis on this issue, we're joined in the studio by Ms. Xiaohui, the Deputy Director of the International and Strategic Studies Department at the China Institute of International Studies. Thank you so much for joining us on China 24, Ms. Xu. Well, we understand that China has used its veto power 3 times over UN resolutions on military intervention in Syria. Now, the context has changed. Do you think it's likely that China will continue to stick to that stance?
Well, I understand that there were signs of using of the chemical weapons in this country, so China is under more pressure from the Western countries. But we need to understand China's positions from 2 perspectives. The first is that we firmly oppose the use of weapons of mass destruction, including the chemical weapons. Actually, China has been playing a very important role in the international efforts to prohibit the use of chemical weapons. Well, in 1980, China joined the international international talks for disarmament, and at that time, China joined in the negotiation for the Chemical Weapon Convention. It was China that proposed to include the context of not to use chemical weapons in the convention, and China finally got related parties, other parties, to agree on this point. So we made great contribution to the not to use chemical weapons, and now we still stick to this point. Another perspective of China's positions is that we believe that not any party can use the chemical weapon, no matter it is government forces, no opposition. So in this context, China believes that we should investigate first to decide who used it. Then we will carry out related actions. It is impossible for China to pressure on the government force without any proof.
So the fact that China is against the use of chemical weapons is in line with the rest of the international community?
I believe so. We have been sticking to this point, and we are also sticking to the point that we will be a responsible partner in the international arena.
Well, meanwhile, China is calling for withdrawal of its nationals from Syria. Under what circumstances will the Chinese government announce such decision?
Well, you may notice that China announces the related announcements to our civilians maybe several times, dozens of times a year. It depends on the situation. Now in Syria, it is obvious that the situation is getting worse. There is signs of using of chemical weapons, and the Western countries are threatening to use in military intervention against this country. So in this context, it is useful and it is appropriate for China to protect our civilians, and that is a very important part in China's diplomacy, that we will put people's interests first.
Well, thank you so much for your insight on this, Ms. Xu. Appreciate it.